Hello and welcome to another presentation by Teacher Theory. Last time I talked about how to cut the load out of teacher workload, and we went over a few topics such as emails, planning, marking and feedback, and delegation. Today I want to look at how to cut the load out of workload again, but this time I want to address two different issues. One, which is data, and the second one is staff meetings. So let's start off with data, and I want to call this, and it might sound controversial, but data overload. Do you have to regularly collect data in your schools? Do you have a data tracking system? Do you find data collecting maybe a burden? Or more importantly, do you find it time consuming? Now, if you are answering yes to some of my questions, then the chances are there are other teachers in your school in the same position. And this is why it's important to have a whole school conversation about why are we collecting data? Are we collecting data to report it to other partners such as governors, the local authority, to the academy people, or to the school improvement partner? Or are we collecting data in order to help identify strengths and areas to develop within the school, and more importantly, to address pupil progress? Now, because of external pressures and also because of the pressure we put on ourselves, it's easy to lose focus on why we are collecting data and why we are actually analyzing data. So the first thing is we need to keep in mind that we should be collecting data and analyzing it because we want to drive up standards in our school. Sometimes also the same data might be presented 4 or 5 different ways, and there's no need when just presenting it one way will be enough for all the different partners who need to look at it. So how can we address data overload? Well, first of all, like I've said, we need to have a conversation about why are we collecting the data. Secondly, how are we expected to collect the data? And thirdly, what do we expect to get out to get out of collecting the data? As a leader, we need to think about how we will give feedback to the staff on the data that we've collected and analyzed. For example, will lots of fancy graphs help get our point across? And will producing lots of fancy graphs take everyone's focus away and get everyone admiring our colorful graphs and different types of graphs when we could be spending the time actually analyzing the data? Would it be easier also just to give staff the key headlines from the data that we've collected and then spend the time discussing and thinking about how we will actually address the issues? Another point I want to make is don't data overload by over analyzing. You see, data can be interpreted many different ways, and it also depends on who it is that's actually looking at the data. And everyone will see data through their own lens. We need to keep it simple. What we are collecting should be simple, and what we are producing should be simple to understand. And here is another controversial point. Sometimes We might not even need to collect the data because the staff in our school will be able to tell us what the areas to develop are without even needing the data to prove those areas that we need to be working on. So sometimes just talking to the staff is data collection. I hope that helps with regards to data overload and that it might help you rethink about how you collect data in your school. The other bit I wanted to talk about is staff meetings. Do you have weekly staff meetings? Do you find the staff meetings useful? What do you do in your staff meetings? In your school, are staff meetings taken up with just looking at what everyone is going to be doing next week and looking at the timetable for the following week? Are staff meetings used to go over what I would call operational things? I would encourage everyone to now cut out staff meetings and replace them with what we call professional development meetings. Just by saying staff meetings and professional development meetings, I'm sure you'll agree they both sound totally different and, more importantly, will change our mindsets. You see, professional development meetings are exactly what it says on the tin. They are meetings to develop us as a group of professionals. Professional development meetings should be where we come to those meetings able to share good practice. Professional development meetings where teachers and all other members of staff feel comfortable enough to be able to share things that have gone wrong. Professional development meetings where we're actually discussing our school curriculum and also other curriculum related issues. Professional development meetings should be meetings where subject leaders are giving us opportunities to develop the rest of the staff. So the subject leaders are coming to professional development meetings, talking about their subject and giving us training and ideas on how their subjects can be improved. Professional development meetings should be where we're able to read all the research that's out there. For example, from the Education Endowment Fund, professional development meetings where staff and teachers or anyone else are able to read the research that's been conducted and then think about what implications that research will have on our school. Operational things can be addressed through newsletters. Someone can easily type up things and put on the timetable for the following week on a newsletter, send it out to the staff, or leave copies of the newsletters in the staff room. That way, it means that even staff who are not able to attend this, what I would call the old-fashioned staff meetings, they'll still get the same messages. So replace all those not so important things, but it's still important enough for staff to know, put them on a staff newsletter or call it a communications newsletter. So cut out staff meetings and replace them with professional development meetings. And I'd just like to end by saying, remember, cut the workload by cutting down on data and cut your workload by cutting out staff meetings and replacing them with professional development meetings. And these two things will at least hopefully address the teacher workload. Thank you.